In my graduate studies, I was handed a copy of Middlemarch and heard the two words that often evoke a sense of sternness and restraint: Victorian novel. And like many, I braced for an 880-page journey into a world I imagined staunch and repressed. After all, the Victorian era is frequently painted with that brush, a time of rigid conventions and stifled emotions. But here's the twist. When I dove into Middlemarch, my expectations were pleasantly upended. As George Eliot wrote, every era has its beauty, and the Victorian era is no exception. Instead of a tepid and predictable narrative, I found a book that painted Victorian life with a colorfulness that startled me. It didn't tiptoe around the complexities and passions of its characters. Today, we'll discover how Middlemarch defies those preconceived notions and offers us a vibrant and unvarnished glimpse into the world of Victorian existence. Before we get into all the meaty details, it helps to have some context. It was the 19th century, a time of innovation, transformation, and a hunger for intellectual enlightenment. Picture it as a bustling playground of ideas where society underwent profound cultural and intellectual changes. And at the heart of this era, we find Mary Ann Evans, better known by her pen name, George Eliot. Born in 1819, she was a gifted writer and a remarkable intellectual. She challenged the norms of her society, even publishing her novels under a male pseudonym to be taken seriously. Within this dynamic backdrop of innovation and social evolution, Middlemarch emerged. Published in 1871, it's like a time capsule of the Victorian era. There's societal change, political upheaval, and personal ambition. Through its diverse characters, Eliot deftly captures an essence of an age marked by its pursuit of progress and enlightenment. In essence, the novel invites us into the bustling town of Middlemarch, a microcosm of Victorian England. Here, the characters contend with their dreams, desires, and expectations. And this panorama of characters also has ambitions, flaws, and inner struggles. As the reader sees their lives intertwine, we witness the collision of tradition and modernity, the clash of individual aspirations and collective obligations, and the relentless pursuit of personal happiness. And all of this happens amid the evolving currents of society. It's in Eliot's characters that the true magic of Middlemarch lies. These individuals transform into breathing reflections of the convolutions of a society in transition. Take Dorothea Brooke, the novel's central character. She's not your typical protagonist. She symbolizes hope in a male-dominated world. Her story exemplifies the experiences of countless women throughout history. Her struggles, dreams, and determination to carve her path in a world that often restricted women's roles show not the Victorian era's infamous repression, but how the human spirit fights against containment. She embodies the spirit of individuals who dared to defy convention and reach for something more profound. Look at the web of relationships at the heart of Middlemarch. Eliot doesn't just skim the surface. She takes us on a reflective journey through her characters into the tangles of love, friendship, ambition, and jealousy. Consider the relationship between Dorothea Brooke and her husband, Edward Casaubon. It's a relationship painted with ambition and disillusionment. Eliot's story allows us to feel their tension, desires, and unmet expectations. Eliot wrote, "Dorothea had no answer ready, and they walked on in silence for the first time in their lives, feeling the pressure of a vast, impersonal something, binding them as if they were mere atoms in a solid. The delicate warm tint of her skin, the tired eyes, were for the moment effaced from their consciousness by the inescapable conception of indefinable grayness in their lot, which seemed to have no relation to anything in the world that had been before." This passage illustrates the unspoken tension and disillusionment in their marriage, where they feel bound by circumstances beyond their control, unable to express their true desires and aspirations. Through Dorothea and Casaubon, we gain insight into the difficulties of a partnership that embodies the aspirations and limitations of an entire Victorian society. Then there's the enduring friendship between Dorothea and her sister Celia. This relationship, seemingly straightforward, harbors depths of sisterly affection and understanding, and this passage shows their open and honest communication. Celia had no secrets from her sister. She poured forth without reserve what had been in her mind. Eliot's portrayal of this connection reveals the support and sacrifice that define true friendship. And let's turn to the recurring themes and motifs that saturate Middlemarch. Remember, this story pulsates with the spirit of its era. George Eliot deftly captures the tension between tradition and progress, individual desires and group norms, and the ethical dilemmas of change. In Middlemarch, tradition and progress are locked in a perpetual struggle of opposing forces. The town symbolizes this clash as it faces industrialization and modernity. Eliot invites us to witness the conflict between the established order and an inexorable march of progress embodied by the railway. And as mentioned before, the novel is a microcosm of the Victorian era and all the seismic shifts of its time. Eliot drills down deeper. The characters, each with their desires and obligations, embody the tension between individual aspirations and social expectations. For instance, Dorothea's pursuit of meaning clashes with the constraints imposed on women of her era. Her longing for intellectual and moral fulfillment within the confines of society is palpable. Eliot writes, "But her full nature, like that river of which Cyrus broke the strength, spent itself in channels which had no great name on the earth. She loved the creatures whose inward disposition bears no resemblance to anything in the outwardly visible world." Here, we see her desire for a deeper, more meaningful existence that goes beyond the traditional roles assigned to women during the Victorian era. And before we shift our attention to George Eliot's writing style, have you pressed like and subscribe yet? If you made it this far, I bet you'd enjoy watching future videos. But back to the task at hand, Eliot's writing style. She employs a rich and vivid vocabulary that captures the essence of the Victorian era. Remember, it's a time of great change, meaning entirely new descriptions are necessary. Eliot's sentences are carefully crafted expressions of her ideas. She avoids clichés and platitudes, offering readers fresh, engaging prose that transcends time. Consider this passage from Middlemarch where Eliot describes the town. It was a town of red brick, or brick that would have been red if the smoke and ashes had allowed it, but as matters stood, it was a town of unnatural red and black like the painted face of a savage. Her choice of words paints an intense picture of the town's industrialized, polluted landscape. Eliot's sentences masterfully express emotion and depict relationships. When she describes Dorothea's internal struggles, she allows readers into Dorothea's mind, experiencing her turmoil firsthand. Her ability to breathe fresh life into familiar themes and situations sets Eliot apart. Her writing refreshingly departs from the predictable, inviting readers to engage with her narrative on a deeper level. In eschewing well-worn phrases in the writing of her time, Eliot charts new territory in storytelling. Similarly, Eliot's use of symbolism and imagery in Middlemarch is exquisite. She doesn't overwhelm us with heavy-handed metaphors. She delicately weaves symbols and imagery into the story, allowing them to unfold naturally. Consider the town of Middlemarch itself. It's a living symbol of societal change. And as the novel progresses, Middlemarch transforms, reflecting larger shifts in Victorian society. Its evolution subtly yet potently reflects the changing times, illustrating how seemingly static settings are touched by the relentless march of progress. Eliot's craftsmanship extends to every location and object within the novel's landscape. Nothing is arbitrary. For example, Lowick Manor, where Dorothea and Mr. Casaubon reside, is a metaphor for their marriage's stagnation and disillusionment. With its decaying library and oppressive atmosphere, the house mirrors its inhabitants' emotional and intellectual stagnation. Another example is the pioneering newspaper edited by Will Ladislaw. It symbolizes the town's pursuit of progressive ideas and reforms. And through the newspaper, Eliot captures the spirit of change and renewal, showing how the printed word can be a powerful catalyst for transformation. Finally, let's examine the social commentary embedded in Middlemarch. George Eliot uses her characters and their experiences to shed light on her time's moral dilemmas and ethical questions. It's like looking at society and asking, what kind of world do we want to create? Consider Dr. Tertius Lydgate, a character embodying the tensions between traditional medical practices and the emerging field of scientific medicine. His aspirations for medical reform and commitment to ethical healthcare practices are focal points for Eliot's commentary on the clash between entrenched traditions and the need for progress. Then there's Rosamond Vincy, who highlights the societal expectations placed on women during the Victorian era. Her pursuit of a conventional and comfortable life, often at the expense of her desires, illustrates women's limitations in realizing their aspirations. Eliot also uses the town of Middlemarch itself as a canvas for her social commentary. The town's political machinations, social hierarchies, and economic disparities correspond to the broader landscape of Victorian England. Like England, we see a society in transition in Middlemarch, struggling with questions of power, justice, and morality. Eliot prompts readers to consider ethical questions through these characters and the town's dynamics. She compels us to consider the consequences of our choices, the moral fabric of our society, and the responsibilities we bear as individuals within a larger community. It makes us think about the society we wish to create for ourselves and future generations. In conclusion, George Eliot's Middlemarch encapsulates the essence of the Victorian novel without resorting to tired clichés. Its well-drawn characters, intricate relationships, thought-provoking themes, and masterful writing offer readers a window into the past while challenging them to reflect on the present. It's a novel that made me see the Victorian era in an entirely new way, and those 880 pages were nothing like I expected. Thank you for joining me on exploring Middlemarch as a decidedly Victorian novel. And if you enjoyed this video, press the subscribe button and give it a thumbs up. It helps the channel keep delivering content like this. And until our next literary adventure, keep reading and exploring the world of words, and check out these videos for more literary analyses.